Hmm. Interesting day today, huh? So this Venezuela story hasn't really rocked the markets at all, even though it is posing as a geopolitical risk. We've got this story right now that the guys in Wall Street are prepping for what could be an AI bubble, but they're too scared to come out of tech just in case they miss out on the dividends that these big tech companies are starting to push onto investors, or the prospects of all the investments that they've done in the past of 2025. These guys don't want to miss out on anything. I mean, Trump is now being challenged on the principle of international law being breached on what he's done with the president of Venezuela. The market doesn't care. But Bitcoin's gone up. Now, I've been looking across the board, and a lot of people are somewhat preparing for Bitcoin's price to drop. And tonight, I'm just going to break down a few key levels. I'm not going to keep this live too long because I know I can go on and chat BS all the time. But I'm going to give you something that you can work with. Because tomorrow we're going into some data. We've had some interesting data today, which does kind of give us the idea of where we are with the interest rates, which I'm just going to quickly upload right now. But bit of a tricky one here, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to get into it very shortly.
Order canceled.
Yes. Oh, God, I've just cancelled an order. Oh, the market's closed. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, with that being said, let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen, and just make sense of this madness. Here we go. So, Bitcoin. You did a nice pump to the upside. Wonderful. Okay. Bloomberg's come out with this article saying that investors snapped up tech shares even while the capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro fanned worries over geopolitical risks. Well, let's just back that geopolitical risk. What's gold saying? Well, gold's done fantastic today, ladies and gents. It hasn't even looked at any daily open. It's just made a nice little climb to the upside. And of course, last week we were talking about the idea that they are loading up on gold's positions to then come back into those areas. But remember, commercial traders are still short on gold, so they will be building their positions as price does decide to make a move to the upside. But today's been a bit of a good day for all the platinum members, just to put that out there. Going to break down a few of these trades, and then I'm going to get down into Bitcoin's price action on what levels you need to be mindful of. So let's just break it all down. So today, the first setup was on Euro, and we wanted to see Euro sweep the Asian session low to initiate a reversal to the upside to claim the daily open as one of the targets. We can see that Euro did just that. They came up and swept that range. Wonderful sweep of the Asian session low. Stopping volume candle, reversal to the upside. Happy days for the guys who traded Euro today. Secondly, gold. We wanted to see gold try and pull back ever so slightly, tap the 4384 to then claim up the upside move to 4,485. So 4384 on gold was our initial target or entry, and they came down to 4396. So missed the entry just ever so slightly, but they did bring everything back up again. So that was a nice little exploit right there on gold. It's been a bit tricky, but we did come up towards that red vector candle region. Missed it ever so slightly, but, you know, it's going to be getting primed to go up even further, in my opinion. So that's something interesting to see. And then going over to the NASDAQ as well, we wanted to see NASDAQ make a bit of a reversal to then make a pump to the upside. And what we ended up seeing NASDAQ doing today was pretty interesting, to say the least. They made the move up, and then they just came back down again. And that's a little bit terrible, really, when you think about it, because cryptocurrency, well, Bitcoin did a smashing job today. Let's break it down. So, wanted to see Bitcoin come down into this vector candle block principal region itself to then initiate a bounce to come up towards the 94,040 point. And Bitcoin did a little bit more than that. It did a wonderful job of claiming that zone, came into the retrace, and then give us the move to the upside. And they stopped off at 94,791. So that was an interesting move on Bitcoin. I anticipated 94, and then they just made the move up towards 95. So that was a good win right there. And then, of course, with Ethereum, we wanted to see Ethereum getting at entry 3,106 to see them come and tap the 3160, sorry. And what they ended up doing was coming down towards that entry region of 3134. And then, of course, it ripped to the upside and claimed the targets that we wanted to see today. 3,245, They ended up going to 3,265 before it pulled back. So that's why you got to pay yourselves, because they do snap it back. And then finally, they came into the Solana region. We want to see Solana come down, tap the daily open to then make claim back up towards the 138.19. And then Solana came through with a nice flavoursome move and hit the 139.88. There was that tap entry, 133.21, shift out to the upside. So Platinum members, you made bank today on these setups. And if you don't have or access to the Platinum membership, this is the sort of thing that we do every single day, Monday through to Friday. As Platinum members, you get these setups all in the morning. We did this at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard. And then, of course, everything played out wonderfully. Now, let's just break down. That's all on the Traders Reality website anyways. Now, breaking it all down, what can we expect for Bitcoin? I've got these levels that I want to give you just to give you guys an understanding of what's going on. So BlackRock, they've been busy. They've been buying up some Bitcoin. They've been putting it into the ETF itself. We can see in the last 4 hours as such, we go over and we can see that they have been accumulating a relatively decent amount of Bitcoin. But you've got to consider that the recent sales of the ETF itself have been a little bit concerning, but we're starting to see some activity coming back into play with Bitcoin. Outflows were 3 days ago, so that's good news that they haven't really been actually offloading anything. They've been predominantly picking things up. And if you remember from today, when I was talking about the idea of the two ranges of Bitcoin from 90,000 to 96 because of dealers positioning, so now we are very close to that level. Now, what could grant a move further to the upside for Bitcoin? Well, we need to discuss this story over here with regards to the offers. Look what's going on here. They have not stopped offering Bitcoin. That means they have been selling Bitcoin as it's been rallying up. Problem that we've got, ladies and gentlemen, is there's been a lot of spot selling on Bitcoin, okay? And off the back of that, you're seeing a lot of futures traders coming into play. A lot of futures guys are offloading and selling Bitcoin as it's rising up. So people are taking advantage of the drop. They've been doing their purchases and now they're selling it as prices are rising. This is a bit concerning because this is spot volume. This is them selling Bitcoin as it's rising. And you can see we've been tapped at the lows right here of around 101 million. They are actively selling Bitcoin as it's moving up, which is why a lot of participants are actually preparing Bitcoin to come back down again. Now, going into the calendar, tomorrow we have the European bank holiday with the Italian bank holiday, which is not really a problem. And we get the preliminary German CPI data. That's going to be very interesting to see because the German market itself is the largest economy in the Eurozone. So you really want to pay attention to that. So just take that into consideration. But other than that, we don't really have anything to be too concerned about with tomorrow's data. Okay, so it's a free day in my opinion. But then when we go into Wednesday, we do get the actual CPI for the Euro and the ADP non-farm and the ISM services. So we've got a big data day on Wednesday. So from now until that point, in my opinion, it's going to be a nice, easy ride for assets across the board. Now, let me just break down the story of Bitcoin and where we are with it overall. You go over to the higher time frame. This is what you got to look out for. It has been a while, but nonetheless, Bitcoin has actually managed to break above the 50 EMA on the actual daily time frame. Now, this is what you got to look out for with Bitcoin. These are the key levels. You've got this level up here around 99,000. Then you've got this level right here, which is the 96,000. Bitcoin breaks 96, then that backs the order of the dealers favoring higher prices at those levels because that's where they're going to transact. We said this morning that Bitcoin will be in a range. The closer Bitcoin gets to the higher point of that range at 96, then we know that dealers are going to be transacting by the principle of the options matrix, which means that they're either going to transact favorably to the upside or they could aggressively sell into that 96. Now, it's important that Bitcoin rises on good news because then that will steer the dealers to start buying into this activity, okay, and going into the action and buying the strength, okay? And if it breaks above 96, then that would then sustain Bitcoin to claim the 100K mark. But the data needs to start giving us that promise. Today's data came in on the ISM. What does it show you? Shows you that they contracted. That's no good. We don't want to see the ISM manufacturing PMI contracting. But upon that contraction has gone to the idea of interest rates. This was higher earlier on today. It's now pulled back ever so slightly. All right. Now, if it pulls back, good. But we need to see a bit more of a pullback on this because this data came out today. and painted the picture that the market or the economy, excuse me, is starting to contract. All right. That's no good because it means that purchasing managers are not putting to power the actual M2 money supply. They're not utilizing it by going out and expanding on contracts. Okay. Quickly going over into Bitcoin again. If you're looking at Bitcoin right now and are wondering, is now a time to DCA? There is a possibility that you could be taking advantage of Bitcoin if you haven't done so already, but you have to make sure that you are looking for short-term gains. You have to, because we go over to the stock market and we have a look at the volume. On the S&P today, they did give us a positive day with strong volume. That's great news, okay? Problem is price didn't really close too strongly a positive. That's the issue that we have got, guys, all right? But when we go back over into the NASDAQ, to put that into perspective, we then look at the price and the volume, and it's not above average. That's a problem for me. If NASDAQ's not coming in with volume above average and it couldn't even take out the previous session's high, it's not really doing great there now, is it? We need to see that commitment coming in. And the relative strength of assets across the board in the NASDAQ is actually going down. So not much volume is coming into play, guys. So just make sure you take that into consideration, okay? In my opinion, 50, 13, 99 EMAs are just an indicator. Anything indicators to let you lie to yourself. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm just reading your comments right now. Where are your heads at with this all, guys? You know, because Bitcoin's done a very good job of breaking this, but for me, it's a short-term move. I'm just saying. Because this can easily be the logic here. M formation, drop retrace, level 1. Can easily be that. Right? Break the 50 EMA, wonderful. You got the 200 EMA, tap that resistance, and then fall over. All right? But just remember this. Even if you go long right now on Bitcoin and you're like, that's it, I'm going to go spot and anticipate movement higher, appreciate that they've been selling a lot of it, okay? It's going to get to a point when retail is going to be like, yay, buy Bitcoin, and these guys ain't going to be selling it, okay? And that's where you're going to get your resistances. You've broken a key resistance area here, okay? Now we need to sustain it, which means for the conservative investor, the breakout, retrace, back into the zone, continuation to the upside. I do expect Bitcoin to come back to these highs. I expect it to hit 120K. I say that now, all right? I'm realistic with it. I ain't going to give you a price point beyond that. That's just stupid. I'm working with a range. Consolidate, prepare it, make the run up. You want to trade that? Cool. You want to make yourself a bit of money? If it goes up from here and you get a nice little 20% move on Bitcoin, all right? So from 94 to 112, that's a 17K move on Bitcoin. If you're complaining about that, then no point in investing in Bitcoin. There really isn't, because you're not going to make any money from it. You won't. If you don't take anything off the table. What would William J. O'Neill say? What would he say? William J. O'Neill will say it quite simply, right? If there's no volume, you've got to be careful. And he had a book on how to short stocks. And the main aspect of that book is if you don't see volume as prices are climbing, then participants aren't coming in and they're just selling into participants. Get ready for a drop to the downside. Go check out his book on how to short stocks. It is a brilliant read. I've read everything that William J. O'Neill has come out with, and God rest his soul. Okay. I'm short on Bitcoin. Tino, your hairline pushed back a lot. Yeah, well, never mind. Can you look at Circle? Bear with me. Here we go. Let's have a look at Circle. Let's catch up with those stocks right there. Circle. Basing out. Volume not coming in, but neither is it leaving at all. It's just continuously consolidating. Give this one a chance. Give it a chance. That's all I'm saying to you. We have 2 CME gaps down, so you know the story. Yeah, there is that story with the CME gaps. Okay, so let's just roll the CME gaps right now. Okay, you got the first gap right here. Okay, that Bitcoin hasn't taken. And then when we go over to the second gap, where's the second gap? Where is the second gap? They filled that gap. There you got the little gap right there. There you go. There's your little gap. All right. There's a little bit of a gap up. Well, not even a gap. It principle. Yeah. Okay. It's a big gap, to be fair. But yeah, these are two areas of interest with Bitcoin. All right. Now, remember, if the strength is coming into play and they're gapping up so much, this is consistent with good accumulation. When you see the gap ups occur as prices making big moves to the upside, then it would be consistent with exhaustion. All right. But you're seeing it happening at the lows. And that's really good news, which could then say that, yep, prices could be going up further, but there'll be a point where it comes back into that. How much of a rally up is it going to take? So to put it into perspective, let's take this one here. Filled the gap straight away, it rolls over. All right. Filled the gap straight away, rolls over. 2 days. That's all it took. Okay. Then you've got this gap right here, which is where we are. Right. They've got the gap right there. It then shifted out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of price movement before it came back down to fill that gap. So just because you see the gap doesn't mean that it has to be filled straight away. That is very important because people will be fixated and married to the idea it's got to come down. It's got to come down because of the gap. No, it does not have to come down, but it will come down to fill the gap. All right. It doesn't have to because you like the idea of gaps being filled. Okay. So just take that into consideration. Tino, who the F would long right now? We are at higher time frame short area. Longers can play the game, gain retrace and long retest or wait for lower prices. If time frame, the F you longing right now, only shorting right now. Sounds like a little bit of a bias there, my bro. You know? So what if people are longing right now? You don't know what people's motivations are to go long right now and how long they plan to stay in longs for. That's why I say to you all the time, take money off the table, have a zone and trade towards it. If you're going to make money on Bitcoin from this area and you're going long and Bitcoin jumps up 5.5K, what's a 5.5K increase on Bitcoin for you? If that's enough money for you and you're happy with that, take it. Yeah? Because people make the mistake of thinking that you can't go long on Bitcoin because we're in a negative drawdown. Look, you have to react. Simple as. All right? The brutality of trading or investing is nothing's going to happen if you don't act. If you're sitting on your hands waiting for an opportunity for it to say buy here, you ain't getting it, man. You won't. You'll never get it. You won't get it. You know? So, you know, honestly, private coins go up when Bitcoin dips. Then when it dips, I'm confused. Never mind. What are you saying? Yeah, I've had orders I have orders all the way up short. Have a good amount of spot alts regardless. That's the move. Yeah, my dude has a bias. It could go either way. Yeah, it can go either way, but I'm giving you levels right now, okay? And the levels themselves are irrelevant if you don't act on them. In the sense, if price goes up from this point towards 107,000 and you're there with your long from 94 and you do nothing at 107,000, you've got a week of information that could completely switch Bitcoin on its head, okay? We don't know what's going to happen next, so you act on what you see right now. If the narrative and the information coming out is favorable, then go over and look at other assets to understand that case. Euro marking up, a nice little reversal right there on Euro. You've got the NASDAQ claiming highs, and they're expecting it to sweep up and break out as like the S&P are going above 7,000 for the first time. Look, we're very close to 7,000. S&P is going to rip that. It really is. And that, for me, will be a climatic move to the upside. AI has to back it. If AI backs it with earnings, then ladies and gentlemen, nothing is stopping the stock market. It really won't. Interest rates or not. And that is going to be the benefit to Bitcoin. But remember, Bitcoin is being deemed as a little bit of a risky asset. So you people start seeing Bitcoin going up, they're going to start getting involved in it. But remember, understanding order flow. They have sold a lot of Bitcoin today. Okay, so retraces could be on the cards. And that's why I say to you, when you see Bitcoin breaking the 50 EMA, you want to see it, try and retrace back into that because fundamentally offers have been hit non-stop. Now we're going to look for the test of those guys to bid and buy up to then see claim to the upside. If it does it, awesome. If it doesn't, never mind. Get ready for the next trading opportunity. Tino, are you Mexican? No, I'm not Mexican. Mexico. Right. Can I get an XRP? Oh, God. Yeah, money can be made in both directions. Problem is, people could make money in both directions, but they do nothing when the direction is had. Because you buy at 94, everyone's going to hold until 107. They go to X and they wait to see who's being optimistic about it. So funny on X. People are like, Bitcoin's price is dropping. Yeah, everyone is buying the ETF. What's going on? And when you're asking that question, it just tells me you're not really aligned with the idea of understanding behavior of the bids and the offers. That's all it is. Bids and the offers is the almanac of trading, in my opinion. It really is, because you're getting the commitment in who wants to buy and who wants to sell. If you told someone today that they were selling mad amounts of Bitcoin, would they believe you? No, they wouldn't, because they associate selling with prices going down and they associate buying with prices going up. But this spot order book right here told me right now that some participants have managed to sell $184 million worth of Bitcoin at 18:55 p.m. this evening. Go across over here. We've had another sell order for $178 million worth of Bitcoin being sold on spot. All right. When you understand this logic, then you can align yourself with understanding if this move has weight. Yeah. Why would they sell so much right now if the idea of Bitcoin's price is going to continue higher? So that means preserve and maintain caution. If you're running longs from here, just know that a lot of people have sold from this point. So we really need more triggers to send Bitcoin further up, which is why I say to you, wait for the retrace continuation. All right? Cool. Gold has just been leaving vectors. Okay. Is Monday the false move? Possibly. I like Tino. I don't use hybrid system, only his indicator for vectors and sessions. But in the evening, this guy comes live and talk nice. Thank you. Mad love here since 2023. Mad love to you, Matrix. Listen, the hybrid system is it's not an indicator. Okay, remember that. It's not. It's just candlesticks and they've got different colors, but it's the meaning behind it. How you translate the hybrid system is how you then take advantage of trades. That's all it is. Translate the behavior. All right. It's a moving average. I don't need moving averages on my charts. I like to trade with the sessions on there just to give me an understanding of where we are. But quite frankly, if I had to pick one aspect of the hybrid, it would just be the candlesticks. I don't need anything else. I really don't. I don't need nothing. This is what my charts could actually look like. Show EMAs, get rid of them. I don't need anything else. All right. And then when I go over to order flow, I look at the depth of market and I just pick vectors to vectors to vectors. That's all I do. That is what I call a clean chart. Even with the sessions, I just need the sessions to highlight the levels. Okay. But overall, I don't need anything else. Where on here do I need a moving average? I can look at this and know that I'm already trading above the 50 EMA, the 5 and 13 EMA on the 1 hour time frame. I've already established the trend. Don't need the moving averages. I don't, but I've been looking at this for a long time. Those of you who are new, you need them just to understand and build the experience of how to view the chart. All right. Then when you dissect it all and you start talking about vector blocks and, the Asian session high and the Asian session low for Monday and its importance and the psychological ranges, it's about how you translate price at those levels. It's not an indicator. It's an approach, a system of reading price, in my opinion. Tino, how close is your method to the one of Annie of TTC? How did she come up with the hybrid system? She didn't. I know Annie, she's cool. She was talking about the hybrid system and then she's just done her own thing. I mean, I've been trading, been on YouTube January 2020, 21st, January 2021. But I was actually on YouTube July 2020. I'm correct. Yeah, July 2020 when I started uploading videos, but the hybrid system, I mean, God, so many people have taken it and made their own versions of it. Cool. Be my guest. But, let's add another 15 years on top of that. If you got 15 years of the system, then, listen to the person. But each to their own, man. It's free. It's a system. I understand this system as much as I physically can. Am I right all the time? Fuck no. No, I'm not. But when all of it aligns together, that's when you get like little setups like this. And they work really well and they pay out. All right? They do serve if you're aligned with the market. And in the video that I put up this afternoon, okay, is in the morning, just gave the guys the breakdown of the logic behind it all, And that's it. There's a lot of people that talk about it. Oh, yeah. Did you hear about uranium? The US government is going to be investing around 2.5 billion in uranium products. So, yeah, that's it. Tina, you placing the importance on the 18-year? No. Tina, can you do a yoga yoga flame? I like that. That's brilliant. Okay. Tina, do fair value gaps often correlate to vector candles? You know what? Everyone gets. Look, when ICT starts saying, I own the market, I am the algorithm, just take it with a pinch of salt. He's got his own way, how he reads things, how he does it. And, if he does a good job with it, he does a good job with it, But, there are ICT traders and then there's MACD traders. Both make money. Who's better? No one gives a shit. They don't care. All right. Ultimately, if MACD traders make money and ICT traders make money, they make money. So however they translate the information in the sense of vector candles and fair value gaps, someone from ICT might look at the vector candles and think, what the hell? And then someone from the hybrid system might look at fair value gaps in ICT and be like, what the hell? You're always going to get someone that has a problem with a system that they're not studying, they're not watching. They'll give their 2 cents about it. And then, of course, they'll have a point of view. If it challenges it, then they're going to start moaning about it. I don't give 2 damns about any systems out there. I don't. Why? Because I promised myself that I would make a system and stick to it. I would understand it. Because if I start jumping around other systems, then I'm going to have all this information. And have I tested the system truly? I've looked at the hybrid for a very long time. Have I looked at ICT? No, I haven't tested ICT. I haven't gone back and tested it. Okay? For me to understand it. Neither have I done that for MACDs. I haven't done that for Fibonacci's. I haven't done it for any other strategy. I found my system and I stuck with it and I needed to master it. And that's what you guys should do. Do the same thing. Give yourself a better sample size so that you can then make a decision. Don't come to YouTube, find a system, trade it for 15 minutes and then say it's the worst system on earth. What are you doing? You're already at a loss when you come to trading. When you believe that when prices are rising, it's because people are buying. You're already at a loss. All right? If you have your time again, focus on the bids and the offers. Focus on those because that gives you the true footprint behind the candlestick. Yeah? What's a fair value gap? Let me break it down for you. Okay? Fundamentally, people look at the fair value gap and they say, okay, then, price is going to, all right, so here's an example here, right? You've got yourself a little bit of a fair value gap right here, okay? There it is right there, all right? So you see this push up, right? Price trades back into the fair value gap. You place your longs and then ride the rally to the upside, okay? Cool. Now, how do we know that in terms of the fair value gap itself, which is this range here, right? Do we know what the bids and the offers were at that point? Do we fully know? Okay, so what time is this? This is at 6 a.m. today on Bitcoin, right? 6 a.m. today on Bitcoin. Let's go into the 5-minute time frame, right? Going to make a point here. Okay, here we go. So 6 a.m. today on Bitcoin. That would put us in this range here. Here we go. Right. Here. Yeah? Cool. So, by the logic of fair value, the idea is that there is an agreement. There's a fair value agreement. That I'm in agreement with things. Cool. Okay. That's the idea of it. Okay. Or the concept of price has found value and there's no extremities to it. So it's going to keep on going in the direction of the fair value gap logic, in my opinion, however they put it, right? At that point in time, on the reversal of this candlestick here, which traded into the vector candle region or your fair value gap, you can see here that it wicked at 6 a.m. It come down and then made the reversal back up, okay? So look at what was going on before the actual test of the fair value gap or the vectors. At 12 o'clock midnight, they were marking prices up, okay? So we go over to here and you can see 12 o'clock, they were marking prices up over here, yeah? Look at the offers. They were selling aggressively, right? You can see that, and that's your vector candle. Go over to the point at 6 a.m. where they tried to come back into that point. The offers started to taper off, but we didn't see any bid side interest, meaning that the offers were still in control of price. They weren't selling as aggressively because it wasn't higher, right? They started to get aggressive as price started to move up, okay? And you can see that right there with the price bar itself. Then they started to sell and offer Bitcoin. And then that's when Bitcoin started to make the recovery all the way back up again. So what I'm trying to say to you is the fair value gap visually is what people are doing when they trade the fair value gap. They look at it. They look to see if they can recreate this story again. That's what they're looking for. They're trying to see if price respects this. So they'll go back and back test it, a number of positions, and see if they can draw this little range here, trade back into it, and then try and repeat the same thing again in the future, okay? However, when you're just looking at it from a visual perspective, you're missing the bigger picture behind what's going on inside of here. This is an imbalance. Possibility of price going back into that imbalance. What did they do? They came back into it. The offers started to taper off at around that point. Activity started to die, okay? But it still maintained its structure to continue to move higher. You look at price action and you know that they're going to want to go back up towards that previous area of liquidity because that's where most of the liquidity stands. They hadn't taken any Asian session high nor an Asian session low, so you would be marking off the idea of price making the move to the upside. That's what the setup was today on Bitcoin. That was what my expectation was, but it had nothing to do with fair value gaps. It was all to do with the bids and the offers and the vector block principle, okay? They'd already come into that point. They moved away from it. So those guys that traded the fair value gap right there, if they set a stop below that zone, they would have made money. But some people don't have the leverage or they don't want to have such a long stop or a big stop, okay? So they end up getting stopped out. And then what does Bitcoin do? It comes straight back into that range, shakes the players who tested the fair value gap, and then, of course, said, oh, forget it. And then it makes the move to the upside. Again, is it foolproof? No. But it's all about your experience of fair value gaps, your experience of vector candles, your experience of market cipher, your experience of MACDs, or whatever strategy you use. How many times have you exposed yourself to it working and not working? And do you or are you able to step away when you got a feeling that the way you look at things is going to work or not? Systems are bullshit. They are. It's about how you react. What is your logic? Look for the reason, okay? The reaction, and then you get the permission to take the trade. Logic is fair value gaps, vector candles, MACDs, okay? Reaction, do I see it? Oh, it's gone back into my vector candle region. Oh, it's gone back into the fair value gap. Oh, it's come back into the MACD. Am I seeing a reaction from it? Yeah, it's starting to go up. I've got permission to trade. How many times have you exposed yourself to that scenario? That's what it's all about. Sam? Who the hell's Sam? You ever hang out with Sammy Cup and Handy? Huh? Who's that? Sorry. Tina's the type of guy who farts in the toilet and flushes it. That's funny. That is so funny. Never know FVG, only PA trading and vector fills, retraces. Okay. Oh, I did the live trading. I did a recording of live trading for the, it's this session right here. When you go to the members section, okay, I recorded a live trading session, which you guys saw a little bit. Shut up. You saw a little bit of it, but I've turned it into a masterclass session because inside of it, I actually break down, here we go, the trading extremes. It's about trading extremes on the NASDAQ and the S&P. And it's an hour long, but it's me breaking down the live trade session that you guys saw 10, 15 minutes of, okay? So that's the latest session on the masterclasses, which is a whiteboard session. So I'm talking about it there, and then I break the whole logic down on understanding how I did that and took that trade. So if you want to check that out, go check that bad boy out, okay? Cool. Anyways, with that being said, have yourselves a wonderful... Talking about Sam Price. Sam Price. Sam Price. As in Crypto Lifer. No, can't be him. Are we on about him? My guy Sam. What are you saying about him, man? He's all good, man. I'm an angry bro on a I'm angry bro on a German YouTuber. His name's Bitball. He says in his stream that he is the founder of the hybrid system. I told in chat and they block me. He's the founder of the hybrid system. You know what? I would love to have an exchange of information with that guy. I want to ask him questions. And I got the fucked up questions about the hybrid that I hope he could answer for me. Bring me the founder. Bring him to me. But he's speaking in German, so how the hell am I going to communicate with the dude? You know, listen, anyone that uses my system, happy days, be my guest to it. It's free, work it out, all right? Spend the time, study it, all right? That's all I say to you. When I talk on the charts, when I tell you about all of this shit right here, it's because I've done it thousands of times. I make money from it. And if you do what I say or repeat what I do every day, then you'll start to understand it, okay? The people that made the most amount of money off this system were the ones that started from the flipping beginning of the channel, all right? You don't hear about them anymore. They did exactly what I wanted them to do. They understood the system. They were there day and night. The live streams, which were about 4 or 5 hours long, they made their money and they got the fuck out of the game. Okay, well, I won't say they got out of the game, but what I'm trying to say to you is they just did basically what we told them to do. Study the system, teach a man how to fish, and then get out. All right? Make your money and go. And they've done all that. Go watch the old live streams. People coming up saying they're flipping 25, 30, 40K on the live stream. And then I show everybody, take a screenshot of the actual, like, it's there. You know, if you are new coming to this channel, man, you've missed a big chunk of what this is all about. So, yeah, if anyone wants to talk about the hybrid system, tell them to be my guest, man. Be my guest. I would love to hear them talk about it. If they make it their own, they make it their fucking own. Cool. But I'd love to ask them questions. I really would love to, because I know how to ask very interesting questions about the hybrid system. So, Bitbull comes here. I know he does. Of course he does. Everyone does. I was the only dude talking about the dollar dominance back in the day, and then all of a sudden, everyone talks about it. Why? Why? Why did anyone in crypto care about the dollar dominance? You never gave two shits about it. No one. Now you do. Look, if he's making money with it, cool, man. Let him. Like, he's been my guest. What am I going to say to the guy? Don't. You know? Can't do shit about it. I can't. If you want to know this system, come here and just listen to what I say. That's all. That's what you got to do. I remember you posted the first guy hitting 100K with the hybrid system. I remember that. I remember that. I remember those days. Can't thank Tina enough. System works. Happy days. Mad love to you all. Because you talked about swap spread first. Macro Opera, why do I know you? Did you comment on an Instagram post about smart money, dumb money? It's not about that. I like that response if it's you. What would be one fucked up question about the hybrid system? Okay, then. So I would like Bitbull, right? Pitbull, BB. I don't know whatever it is. Okay. Is it Pitbull? Yeah. Anyways, Bitbull. Fuck that. Anyways, listen. Okay. So cool. I would ask him, okay, if he can do this exercise, and the exercise is to tell me which candlesticks are vectors. All right, the first bit. Which candlesticks are vectors? Highlight stopping volume candles, which technically is a little bit of a gamble if I'm quite honest with you. But if you do understand the system, you'll be able to easily identify what's a stopping volume candle, what's a green vector, and what isn't a vector candle. It would be very easily done. Okay, if you understand the system, it's clear as day to you all right now that you all know that this is a vector, that is a vector, those are vectors, that is a vector, this is a vector, those are vectors, and we bring the system back in, and there you go. How did we know that was a vector? How do we know that was a vector? How do we know that was a vector? That and that. I've done this exercise many a times, okay? So I'd like to see him do that, okay, if he created the hybrid system. And then I would also ask him to, well, then he probably watches the live streams and I explain it all the time. So it'd have to be one of those moments, because I can't really ask the question now because I'm giving him ammo. Nah, never mind. Listen, look, yeah, if he's adapted the system but used it differently, credit where it's due. Credit where it's due. You know, I'm having a bit of a laugh and a joke with you all about it, but if he's adopted the system, cool. Fair play to the guy. If he's making money from it, he's doing what we want him to do. Happy days. Use the system, and it's a testament for other people to use it. All right? If they're using it and it's making them money, happy flipping days. Doesn't matter. I can switch this live stream off. I can shut it all down, ladies and gentlemen. I'll still be making money on the hybrid system. It doesn't change. And you've got enough information on the YouTube channel to help you understand how to use it. You really do. It's all there. It's all there. Or what do I find paradoxical about the hybrid system? I'll tell you what baffles me about the hybrid system. I challenge anyone to do it. Go back on the 1 hour time frame and identify how many vector candles get recovered against those that don't. All right? You'll be surprised. Just identify candlesticks that get recovered. Highlight them. Find them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go and find me vector candles that don't get fully recovered. Okay? They're trading opportunities. And when you see that and understand it, you'll then understand how to trade the hybrid system. Okay? You know? He has made his own PVSRA indicator. Look, man. Fuck. Let him do whatever they want. You know, what can I say to you? Probably. Vector candles and order flow. Yeah, the thing is, everybody uses the hybrid system. I'm trying to introduce you all to understand the order flow behind it. All right? You've got to understand order flow. What does it cost me to teach you that? Nothing. It costs me time. You know? And if 1 million of us, if I have 1 million subscribers, right? And they, mad love power, 1 million subscribers, and they're all using the same systems. This is what I don't understand. When they say, "Oh, look at all the ICT traders. What if they all know how to trade ICT?" But you know, it's like, what if the market picks up on it? Do you understand how bullshit that is? Just that claim in itself is absolutely bullshit. Let's be honest. It really is. Because no ICT trader has the same concept of value. No ICT trader uses the same risk. No ICT trader uses the same leverage. If they all systematically opened a trade at the same flipping time, then yeah, there could be a little bit of a problem. But no system is going to be executed at the same time across the world all the flipping time for it to do anything to the marketplace. It wouldn't. So it's wild. You know? We need harder questions. You know what? I said this live stream was going to be small, but fuck, it's not. Made more money on your vectors than any other YouTuber. Advice. Happy days. That's all I need to hear. I found him first, then you. You are the reason why I now can understand how the markets move and how everything's connected. Thank you, Tino. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you learned something, like the stream, ladies and gentlemen. If I filled your heads with bullshit, like the stream, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't like the stream and you're not happy with what I've spoken about, like the fucking stream. I got nothing but love for you all, ladies and gentlemen. It's all love at the end of the day.